Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please like and subscribe. If you like the content, please share it and hit the notification bell so that you're notified of new content as I put it up. I'm going to try something different now. I have people send me videos all the time, and I help those people improve their wrestling. And so one of the videos is from this guy, Bill, that I know. That's Bill is right here. I've known him for a while just from Instagram. He's contacted me, and then we started talking about wrestling. He started asking me questions, and then kind of built a friendship over Instagram. And I've been helping him with just all cerebral stuff, really to improve his game on conversations that we have based around his grappling. He'll ask me, he'll go try something, and then he'll ask me, uh, what do I do when this happens? And then he started sending me videos, and then I started helping him. And then he said that he didn't have a problem with me doing a breakdown of his video and showing it. So that's what I'm going to do today. So this is Bill here, and he's got a crazy good endurance, and he's picking up some really good grappling. I don't know his opponent, but Bill says that I could share this content, and I hope that you enjoy it. I'm just going to walk through like I do every instructional. He's got his hands nice and low. He's matching forehead to forehead here. By keeping his hands low, he's not letting the guy just shoot through it. So, and you might think, oh, why is he just like reaching for the head right now? Because that can be a problem, because this guy could potentially shoot if he reaches, right? So that's something I teach on my channel is if you reach, then you're going to ask to get post at the elbows. So that's something that I don't like, and he knows it. So he and I have talked about this a lot, and it's this idea of finger clasping. So I talk about this in my instructional a lot. You really want to avoid this, okay? I like his head position here. I like how he's forehead to forehead, and he knows I'm going to kick his ass for this. And the reason is this is a 50-50 position. Not only if this guy doesn't feel like letting his hand go back, and if Bill doesn't feel like letting his hand go back, then it's going to be a problem. And then while you try to get out of this position, that's when you break fingers, okay? Like I've mentioned this on more than one occasion on my channel. I even mentioned on my instructional too, is you can break fingers in here because some people are just really awesome at this grip. So you just don't want to give it to them. Okay, and just like agree to let go of it. That was a kind of nice example of him trying to shuck the collar off. Let's go back to that. Okay, so here, right, that guy had a good collar tie here, and he tries to do a classic reach up and take the collar tie off and shuck it by, but I'll show you why it doesn't work. Okay, the reason it didn't work, it's a good idea. Okay, but the reason, because he actually didn't wait very long. If you see, he went right to it. So he goes right to it. So why didn't it work? Because he grabbed at the wrist and not behind the elbow. So if Bill had grabbed up behind the elbow high here, then he would have been able to control this guy's direction. So first of all, I don't think he's pushing very hard, and that's not when you do it. You have to bait this guy into pushing into you. But and he actually knows he is pushing because his weight's going forward. Okay, but see how it drops his elbow now, and then he actually posts there, which Bill could use. And I show this on my how to defend the collar tie and switch to the Russian. Post that up and behind this elbow. I know it happens fast, but that's wrestling. It happens quick. Okay, so that little sequence, it's right in the beginning here. This could have been a nice shuck by if he had gone to the elbow. And then when he reached that, when he lifted that up, right, rather than Bill coming up and out of his stance, if he had stayed in his stance, he could have just lifted that wrist, this guy's wrist, right behind this elbow. I'll post that so you can see it. And then get right to a far side body lock. Nice position. Yeah, when Bill reaches, see how he's collar tying with the leg that's back? That's classic. He's doing very classic wrestling. I know that he's actually trained with some of the guys that I wrestled. Well, not the guys I wrestled with. That was over 20 years ago in college. University from time to time when he's traveling, and or guys that wrestled at Sacred Heart University, and so he's actually getting some former D1 wrestling experience. And I mean, those guys are much younger than me. So he's getting some experience wrestling with D1 wrestlers. And so he's learning in a lot of ways, proper way of collar tying, which would be this way exactly. Because see here, if he was to collar tie with this leg forward, this guy's not posting at the elbow like he should. He's posting at the wrist. But if he was leading this leg forward, it would give him easy entry to the legs. But see, he's not doing that. He's got this opposite leg forward. So this is really far away. So if this guy went to go shoot there, he would just end up in a front headlock. Okay. A lot more. This is still a problem. This type of finger clasp, well, it's not finger clasping, this type of grip, this palm to palm grip, still hard to get out of, still a 50-50 position. Avoid it. Don't do it. Okay. He does with his right hand, he does a better job doing the over tie that I show on my outside single video. That's more or less what you want. You see, that's one of those examples where the finger clasping gets you in trouble. As you see here, I'm not sure if whether or not he can't get this hand out because this guy's not letting him. And so if he's on the attack here, and this guy's on the defense, he's just going to squeeze really hard. He may not be able to get his hand free. Okay. And so and this wouldn't have been the worst case scenario for him to be able to do more stuff with that offensively. Okay, so, and they're in this kind of agreement sort of thing of just letting go of the hands when they want to. But I'm telling you, Europeans, they just will never let you out. When I backed this up, I thought it was an overtie, but he's actually going right into the palm to palm thing, which I thought that he had a better overtie grip on that, and he doesn't. This is a 50-50 grip here. You don't want that. And that's why nothing ever happens with those grips. They're just blocking you from getting anything to go. Okay, ear to ear blocking. If we change levels together. So you want to try to avoid ear to ear. If you do get in there, which happens, sometimes you can't even avoid it. You just take your forehead and you grind it into the side of his face to create some angle. Then it loosens his collar tie. I show that a lot on my instructional to make a point. His stance is pretty good though. You see, he's not leaning too far with his head forward. His back is got some strength because he's putting the weight on his legs. Okay, that's a classic outside tie, which is actually quite fine, especially if you've got the death grip look it looks like he has there. Because what I want Bill to do, and I hope, he takes everything to heart actually, so I'm sure he will, is you see here, if he were to shuffle his feet that way, then the guy follows. So you shuffle, and then you throw that by. What ends up happening is this guy starts following and you get his momentum going that way. So you just start circling. It would be to Bill's right, circle, right? Not crossing your ankles or your feet, of course. You just, shuffle, shuffle, and then throw this by really hard and duck down. You drop your level down, and then this right hand will drop down in the crotch and catch this knee. Right. And then what ends up happening is you get on a freaking awesome, kind of like a high crotch like position, but it's an elbow pass duck. It's kind of I haven't shown it yet actually on my channel, but there was a guy on my team in college that was amazing at it. Okay, now here's where things get kind of cool. I want to slow this down as soon as this sequence is over. Okay. Something that Bill has taken to heart is this hip hard. See how hard he digs his hip in? So I showed that on video number 1, actually. And this is something I didn't learn until college. So I'd like for him to drop his hands down before this guy gets here. But see, his collar tie is sort of preventing him from doing that. This hand could have gone between. So he's got outside control. That's why it's better to have inside control. And then that way, when he puts his hand straight down, right, so to the mat, straighten your arm out and face your back of your hand towards his chest, it'll stop him on the way in. But either way, when this guy shoots, okay, Bill is hitting him hard with his hip there. See that? So what that did was that stopped his forward momentum. Bang, hits him with his hip. See how it stopped him in his tracks? And then he framed with his arm on the outside. Like he actually watch him straighten that arm out. So he hits him with the hip hard. See, look at this is good head pressure. I'd prefer if Bill would either put this on the back of the head and push it down, or inside when his guy's got this type of single, cross face the crap out of him, take the inside of that bone and put it right up underneath his nose and rip his face this way. I know it's mean, but it's wrestling. And so Watch how, see, that this plus the head is what stopped the forward pressure. Then he creates some space. Okay. He creates some space. And then now he was able to limp his leg out. This is actually quite technical, believe it or not. Like it happens fast, but much you see, hit him with the hips, create some space, limp leg out. Now, if it were me, if I created that space, I would have stuffed his head and sprawled on it. That way, instead of it being completely defensive, which is what he did here, and it was very nice, right here. Okay, so he hits him with the hips hard, he stuffs his head down. I would, if it were me, I would now drop my chest on the back of his head and then sprawl my shoelaces down to the mat and turn this into a front headlock situation where now he's going to have to eat my weight. And then now, because of his shot, I'm going to end up getting a takedown off of it. Okay, so he limp legs out. One thing about Bill is I mean, he doesn't give up like much of anything. I mean, if you want to score on him, you're going to have to bring it. He competes a lot. Definitely not afraid to compete. Working for inside control nicely. Nice elbow pass. We'll slow that down. And then he had the guy. He backed off. You know, one thing he's got to get better at is this man. Like he had this guy dead to rights, and he backed off. So let's back up for a second. Okay, so you can't see it super well, but I think this guy has a collar tie, and what he does, he doesn't shuffle step to make this shuck by. He just actually drops his level and pulls his head out of the way. If he shuffle step, then he wouldn't have to pull his head out of the way and then recorrect his body to go to the outside single. But nevertheless, it still works. So they see how he see how it's super nice. So when he pulls this by, see that guy's arm go by because he shucked it off. And then so he's ducking down his weight, and then watch his right arm come down and snag the inside of that knee. The reason that's awesome, right, is because now that he's got that hook, he can bring his body to it. Right, so he brings his body to it. I would now, this is where I would have been like, dude, that far knee, that's the takedown. Instead of coming up high, which is a thing that people do when they get, you know, animated and stuff. You have to learn how to drill these things so that you stay disciplined. Right here, if he were to cut across that double, that would have been it. But he came up. See, now he ends up running into this guy's hips and then getting into so he tries to turn. Now that was where, then again, instead of coming up to the waist here, when this guy turned his back like that, dive below the hip line on the thigh line. So sometimes I call it the hip line, but never the waistline, right? So either the hip line or like the thigh line, you dive on that. And if you do, then you've got the back. Because now you smash his hips to the mat and you can take his back. And so what happened here is I think he thought that wasn't going to work out, and they're still in a scramble. He had the back. This is a nice little transition he does. So a lot of leg strength. He lifts a lot of weights, actually. He does some real deep squats. And this, while he makes it work, is not ideal. Like, you want your knee as a post, and then you don't want to be in front, like in driving into this power. You want to create an angle. Okay. And so that's just something that if I was working with him directly, we'd have to fix. But either way, watch how he comes up to this. He'll come up right up to double unders. Okay. Which is super nice. And then right away, he missed it. It was awesome. But he went from double unders, and he just missed the sasai. Just missed that sasai right there. Wonder if his big toe hurt after that. I know for me, it always does in judo. A little high too, but that was going to work out beautifully, that sasai. But either way, so see how he's got the underhook here? If he takes that right hand and drops down back to the knee and continues the throw by, then he has the takedown. So tons of positions where he could have gotten the takedown with just a little bit more technical wrestling, but it's come a long way. His wrestling has really come a long way. And you see how he strips those things off? He doesn't exactly let people collar tie him. He's doing the right idea by trying to get his head underneath there. He watches a lot of this stuff. I do. But his head needs to be on this side. Okay, so when this happens, okay, and you can do this. This is something I teach him. I teach people on the channel. I've taught, and I teach on my instructional, is to come up to the head here to straighten his back out so that you can put your head up underneath his chin. But the first thing you want to do is get your head on this side, right on his face, right there. And then you can wiggle it up underneath his chin. Okay. And then you've got it. Okay. He's got this here prevents him from switching easily to two hands on that. It switches if he's at the knee level, which actually I guess is he a little higher? No, he's at the knee level. It prevents him from switching to the Breza-Grappling. His head's in the way too, so that helps. But he should be able to just rotate his head up underneath the chin, and then switch to the elbows and pull and get his leg free. Not a bad trip try here from this guy. Right, so he tries. So at this point, so if you're standing around with a single leg for this long, then you're not doing yourself any favors. Okay. And this is something that I see happen in jiu-jitsu a lot. When you've got the leg up this, okay, I'll see why. I'll show you why it didn't work. So when he tries this, okay, that's not bad. Okay. A little too high. And then when that foot's open like that, you get wrapped up in it. So that's why I say you keep your foot facing the ground, and so your bottom of your foot faces the ground. You see, if I'm a channel, I teach that, and I don't come up this high, right? Because he's got all this balance down here. You want to come down low. But even if he did do that, this hand should have came up and clawed his head. That is a very legitimate takedown when this hand comes up and collar ties the head, and then you would have circled around, and then he would have gone it back. But now, see, if you start standing around, it gets very tiring. This guy gets his balance really well. He is pulling, which is good. You see how he's pulling. And then now we start right into jiu-jitsu. And one thing I like about Bill is he's got good jiu-jitsu, and he just goes right to it. Don't ever turn your back on somebody like that, though. That, and yeah, I wouldn't do that, Bill. But I love this. And I think that what they were doing was they specifically weren't trying to submit each other. So there, you'll see they end up in positions where they're not really trying to submit, but they're getting like positional stuff. Again, a nice little shuck off, right? This is a good way to control the elbow. See here, you can shuck that off. See how he's doing that? Now that right hand, if he had already had it there, it's a little late. See, we had done it at the same time. That's why I like to circle to this direction, right? Because if he has circled away from it, that guy's body would be going that way, and this leg comes forward, right? So you circle, 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 that, and then you shuck that by as you drop your level. This hand comes in and catches the leg as this leg's coming forward, and then you're going to get it every time. Meeting him with the hips again. It's okay to sprawl first, Bill. A little elevator right into jiu-jitsu. And that's one of the things I love about jiu-jitsu so much is that in wrestling, you would have been in a lot of trouble there. But in jiu-jitsu, you just flow from wrestling right to jiu-jitsu, which is something that I'm really excited about with the no-gi scene. So they get into this 50-50 kind of battle for a while. I'm going to fast forward it because I want to talk more about his wrestling. Although this is a pretty cool little sequence that they had. A lot of scrap, man. Now I'll just let it play. I'll let it play through. So I know that they weren't trying to really submit each other. That wasn't like the point of these rounds. This point was they want to really wrestle a lot, and Bill competes a lot. So he's always trying to keep his cardio way high. He loses a knee line. And then I like how you'll see that even when he gets close to right here, when he gets his guard past, how he waits. He has got a good frame there. He just waits. As soon as that guy moves, then he moves. Oh, I remember this part. Okay, so here's what I would have done in this situation. Okay, if I get into these situations and I'm here and I've pretty much almost got a leg in here, I want to do a switch. I want my left leg to come through and my right leg to anchor it in place, and then I want to scoot my butt out and take this guy's back. He kind of opts to go for the high road right here and hip over. But since his leg was already in, this guy's leg, when this guy's leg is in, your leg is like also in. Okay, so Bill's left leg is there. His bottom right leg would come up and out. Okay, and then you can use it as an elevator too to go up shin to shin and lift them up. And then your right leg would come up and over, and then the second leg would come in. Okay, I hope that you can see what I'm talking about. It's kind of hard to see this upright view, but either way, this is a really good scramble. So now that this guy's on top with legs in, okay, if it were me, I would probably double baseball bat grip right on there and or see if I can't. Well, first thing I would do is just to see if I can shuck him off by getting my elbow in tight and do a swim move. So then the right arm comes over top like a half Nelson, and this one goes. And he's got a post out there, so it would have been harder. But the longer that you let somebody on your back with leg control, the worse things can get. He looks like he could still hit the swim move, but this guy's got pretty tight grip on him. So it was a nice little roll. So yeah, there we go. Like, regarding, always moving, nice little underhook. See how he's dropping down to the single here, right? So he's not way up on the waist. So this whizzer will get less and less effective. The more see how he's trying to clasp his hands together here, and the more he can pull this to the side, even though it's only like quarter guard. If you pull this to the side, take this hip, right, and take his bottom leg and switch it out so that he can get up to his knees. Then he'll have the over this knee is still over here, and then he would have the outside single in perfect position to drop down to it and then cut across to the second leg. But I think he's trying to go under. And this was, by the way, after a long practice. I know that when it comes to half Nelsons, and actually, I'm not going to be able to show it forever. I might be able to teach Dom how to do it before I get my surgery, and then maybe he can do it. We used to use this move all the time in high school wrestling, where you actually grab behind the guy's elbow. Okay. And it's like a no in wrestling. You don't do it, but you can switch. You can literally, with this move, you can grab behind the guy's elbow and turn into it like a switch position, and you end up right behind him in the exact same position that he's in now. But the classic defense would be to look away and clamp this elbow down. You don't really want to go reaching up here to grab it, because if you do, then I'm actually going to take my left hand and reach over top and grab your wrist. And if I have legs in, then I'm going to belly flatten you out, and it's going to get really bad. Okay, so, but not the wrong concept to go for hand control. That's just, if we were wrestling together, and I'm just picking this apart because I like Bill a lot, and he's very good at taking criticism, like super good at it, and that's why he's getting good so fast, is to tighten this elbow down, because you see that he's not very deep here. So if you want a good half Nelson, if you are going to use it for anything and you like half Nelsons, that elbow should be up underneath his elbow. Now he can't get his elbow back down. So what Bill should do is look away and clamp this elbow down. Then when he does it, that hand will fall underneath, and then he can take his left hand, come across and try to get it out, or use it for clasping hand control, and then use it to stand up and get out. Okay, so, but this guy's doing a good job riding the hips. See, he may actually have some, he probably has some wrestling experience, because you see how he's got that nice tight waist and his hips are real close there. He probably wrestled. My guess is that he did, because he's got good hip position there. And then so yeah, it's nice. So then Bill actually is capable of reaching over when the guy goes to the body lock, right? So he had some good. Oh, look at that. He had hand position that whole time, and then see, he's got good hand position here. So then this foot could have come up to do the stand up and grab this hand for control. Okay, but he goes to the whizzer, like a whizzer kick, Uchimata kind of thing. And I would use it to just, oh, nice. And then this guy literally uses what was on my dogfight instructional, right? So if you end up in this dogfight position, which I know people, they say that they like to get into jiu-jitsu. Let me tell you, when good wrestlers continue to come into jiu-jitsu, you will not like this position, because you'll get owned in there every time, because wrestlers are very good in this position. Okay, it's a 50-50 sort of battle, and you want to get out of there. So Bill should whizzer kick really hard to lift this guy's hips up, free his hip from the inside position, come back to the front headlock, and then control this guy's elbow, get it out of the way, stick his head in the hole, and take the back like I show on my channel. So you use this to get out of the dogfight. If you have the overhook, you're in a lot of trouble because he could just drop back down to the single. Even though you have inside hip position, you want to use it as a defensive thing too, right? So lift up. He did it earlier. Let me go back to it. Yeah, see right here, right? So once he gets this lifted, and he didn't get a whole lot of lift with the guy, but if he had lifted the leg up really high, would be to free his leg and circle back to the front, and then his left hand would go on this guy's chin, and then he would take this overhook and go to the elbow and straighten it out, and then take his head and stick it in the head in the hole. Okay, so I show this on my front headlock video, and I'll post a little video in here so you can see it off to the side. I put my head in the hole and then circle and control the legs right as you circle to take the back, because you don't want to just stay in the dogfight position because you're stuck with the overhook. You're either going to have to try to potentially take that post out with a Kasukatami headlock, which I wouldn't do with his hips this far back. Okay, I like headlocks, but there are times to do it and there are times not to do it. But then he comes up to right up here to the cow catcher, right? Sometimes I call it the cement mixer, even though I know that that's from the front, but who cares what the hell the names are called? And it's kind of like a half Nelson with this underhook here, and ends up in good position. Comes in on top, right? There we go again, right? And then that's basically the match. And it was pretty cool. I mean, we saw a lot of good elbow passing and some scrapping, and that's probably how you should be training in practice. So if you like me to analyze your video, if you want me to make it public, I can, for the channel purposes, I'm going to be out for a long time with this knee surgery. Let me know. I think that it really helps for you to look at what other people are doing so you can really learn from them. And, not everybody that you have to watch has to be a world champion for you to learn something. In fact, I saw Bill do a lot of things that are really, really good and frankly a lot better than a lot of what I'm seeing at the highest level of jiu-jitsu. So, and things that can be used from the ground up, right? Because everything that he was doing was very classic wrestling, shucking off ties and everything. And I think that once he incorporates that outside elbow pull a little bit better and reach around with that that over tie that he does on the outside of the head, that and then includes a little bit of foot tripping because he's built for the foot sweep stuff, that's going to work out really well for him. And then if he's got good training partners, like this guy's a really good training partner, this is going to really improve his game. So if you like this and the content, and you want to subscribe to the channel to help grow the channel, share the content with your friends. If you're curious and want me to review your material, just find me on Instagram. It's located in my description of my channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.